what I finally decided was, and not only with the scriptures, but I take it literally unless it indicates it shouldn't be. In many places it indicates, hello.
Ron, he's asking, he thinks you're talking to the crowd.
Okay. I take it literally unless it indicates it shouldn't be. And I think that, intellectually, that's about the only approach I feel you can take to the scriptures. And the issue is not, could this have happened, this happened. The issue comes right down, is God. Is God. And just kind of a little humorous illustration, I ran a seminar in Sharing Your Faith up in Helena, Montana. And this cute little blonde girl went out witnessing. This great big lumberjack came up. Said to her, "Girl, do you think God could put all those animals in that ark?" She never missed a word. She said, "Mister, he could put them all in an animal cracker box if he wanted to." And I heard that. I thought, that's the issue. Is God. Then you go from there.
All right.
And this really is a pretty contentious issue, and it's interesting because I've seen Christians be very really attacking the faith of people of different opinions on this, and I think it's really important to think about the fact that as people back as far as Augustine said, it's important to really be unified on the essentials, but allow diversities in the non-essentials, but in all things let there be charity or love. And again, what you find is a tension between people that are in the sciences that want to be intellectually honest with what the science seems to be speaking, and also as Christians, we want to be intellectually and spiritually honest with what the Bible is teaching. And sometimes it's hard to fit everything together. And I think it's important to understand that tension exists in every perspective. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian, a Muslim, if you're an atheist. There's tensions everywhere, in every worldview, every frame of reference. But what's really wonderful about Christianity is that in Christianity, there is extraordinary clarity and support for the essentials in the core of our faith, while the tensions are more on the fringes, the off-skirt issues, like how do we understand the age of the earth? While in any other frame of reference, any other worldview, any other perspective, the tensions are at the core of their reality. And what happens is people, in a sense, always live in a state of inconsistency. And as Christians, what we want to do is lovingly point out that inconsistency and point them to a true perspective of reality that can bring healing and restoration. So my encouragement is on this topic to let there be diversity and thoughtfulness in differences of opinions.
But, just summarizing all that, it's so wonderful as a Christian to be commanded to pursue truth. I've done over 250 debates in the university. And the one thing I never fear is anyone pointing out that anything I believe is wrong. Because if anything I believe is wrong, I don't want to believe it. And it's just so relaxing in life to pursue truth. When my son came to me, first year at Biola University or second year, he says, "Dad, I really don't know what I believe. I don't know if I want to be a Christian. I can't run in your faith." He thought I'd be all upset. And I said, "Son, that's wonderful. That's exciting, son. I've been waiting." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Son, every person has to come to where it's their faith." And I said, let me give you two pieces of wisdom. One, son, seek the truth. And I said, "Son, if you sincerely seek the truth, you will find it. And what more could a father rejoice in?" And I said, "Second, do not reject something because it's the faith of your father. Reject it because it's not true." Right. He says to this day, "Dad, if you'd have tried to convince me something was true, I'd have walked away." That was the greatest advice you could ever. Now he's probably one of the strongest believers in America.
That was wonderful.
Yeah. And I think all of us would agree on this, is that obviously we believe that Genesis is true. Now, you can start, for me, the process is this. If somebody asks me this question, I'm going to start them with one of the most, if you're going to look at it, troublesome supernatural events, which was the resurrection of Jesus. And that's where our faith begins. I mean, I didn't understand Noah's Ark. I didn't understand Abraham. When I came to faith, I had all of those things that were just fill in the blank, and I wasn't sure. But I started with Jesus and the reality that he was alive and that he had died on a cross in history and that he had been raised from the dead. And Christianity started in the very place in Jerusalem where it would have been easiest to disprove. I lived there for a season of time, and I could talk to people. There was nobody in Israel that doubted that Jesus Christ was a man, that he had lived. And the fact that his tomb was empty, you could go to the tomb and it's still empty. And the impact of this movement of Christianity started from that moment. And really, it's kind of like being in a dark room and you can't see, so you need to cut the light on to study. And so Jesus is that light. And when I understood his resurrection, came to faith in him, the light came on, and then I began to go back and study and see that these people were true, that there was a Moses, there was an Abraham. Our mutual friend, we have a friend, Josh, named George Blumenthal. Ask George if he mind us using his name. He digitized the Dead Sea Scrolls for the Israel Museum. He's digitized the two oldest manuscripts, Codex Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, I think one's in the Sinai Desert, one's in the Vatican. And he was pretty much an atheist. And he kept telling us but he kept telling us all the discoveries in archaeology that were verifying the Bible. And going on and on and on. And not to be pretentious, but we were actually in the United Nations in May of 2008. You were there at the celebration of the 60th anniversary of Israel's birth, modern rebirth. And we're sitting there, and he's going on and on about the Bible being true. And I looked at him and said, George, do you now believe? And he kind of looked at me stunned. 1 month later, I received a package at my house, special delivery of antiquities all the way back from Abraham's time. And he had been collecting artifacts from 2000 BC, 1500 BC, 1000 BC. And he said, this is the collection that led me to faith that God was real, that the Bible was true. So sitting in my home, I have artifacts all the way to a water pot on my mantle from the time of Jesus. So Abraham was real. Jesus believed it was real. I believe in Jesus. He's been raised from the dead. And on the authority of that, I think we have enough faith to say the Word of God is true.